Hello, my Astro family. This is Lada from Astrolada.com, and today I want to present you a beautiful soul that I discovered very recently. I feel she is part of my soul tribe, and I want to present
Yeah.
you her message. Her name is Teja Woods. Hello, Teja.
Hi, Lada. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm
I'm
so
very
excited.
I'm very excited because I started watching you a few months ago, and you're one of those light workers who is not afraid to talk about the dark side. And I'm very attracted to the dark side, not to be with the dark side, but to expose it
Yeah.
and to bring it to the
Yeah.
surface. I think a lot of the people here on our channel are also very attracted to that, to understand it. And they has a special gift from God. I'll call it. She's connected to higher beings. Can you tell us a little bit
Mm.
about that? Is it channeling? When did it start? And then I'm going to start
You
asking the questions.
Okay, I would love to. So basically, with me, I've never studied anything. I was like, let's say I was born with all of these insights and gifts. So when I was like really little, I would always, in my dream time, I would always dream about the future. I would dream about what was about to happen. I would dream about if somebody was already passed on, and we didn't yet know that they've already crossed over. And they, spirits would come to me, talk to me, and my experiences were always extremely beautiful, extremely loving, um, extremely positive. None of what you see in Hollywood movies. So that's kind of like, how it all started when I was really little. So this was a natural part of me. So I never really studied the work that I do. It's kind of like it just came to me, and I was guided to do this work. So obviously when I was a teenager, I felt really weird about my gifts because, there was like all these people out there who are normal in a way, and, had normal interests. And I would always like meditate or, travel astrally, And so, yeah, that's how it all started. And then at some point, these beings, it's very important to understand that these beings that I started like, that were basically accompanying me all my life, never really introduced themselves in a way of, oh, I'm this and this, in an ego way. I would always feel them behind my back, and they never revealed who they were. They just said, we're beings of light. It's not important who we are. The message is important.
Mhm.
And that stayed with me for a really long time. And they do reveal themselves. Sometimes I have great clarity, that, for example, Master Maitreya comes through, or Mary Magdalene, or Saint Germain, or they do want to know, they do want people to know who's speaking, because I assume that obviously it makes a lot of sense to the listeners, but sometimes it would be just a collective energy of light and love and higher consciousness. And they just want to share guidance with us, with this world, with this reality. And so that's kind of how it all started, and it's just been with me ever since.
How do you know they're benevolent entities and guardians of humans? How do you know they're not dark ones presenting themselves in a good light? Is it your Scorpio bullshit barometer? Because you're a Scorpio, obviously. Is that,
um,
how do you
you
recognize?
know I know, like, this is the question that a lot of my students ask as well, like, how do I know? And for me, it's so obvious. It's like, how do you recognize when it's sunlight and when it's dark and it's the night? You just see it, right? And for me, it's that kind of like level of recognition. It's so obvious. But that's maybe because, me and like many, obviously, other people, like light workers, we really understand the light, we really understand this higher consciousness, we understand the love frequency. And when you understand the love frequency, it's kind of like whatever doesn't resonate on that love frequency, it doesn't matter what information it is, it doesn't matter what they say, it has to do with the love frequency. And if it's not on love frequency, you can feel it, you can pick it up, and you're like, there's something wrong with this, like there's something really wrong with this. But when it has that kind of love frequency, it resonates. So it's kind of like a big, bell
Wow.
ringing when it doesn't feel right.
And do
So
you hear
it
it
could be a
like,
Scorpio bull,
yes,
it could be a
yes,
Scorpio thing.
definitely. Because you
I
can't,
think I'm Scorpio, Pisces, and I don't know if I'm Aquarius or Cancer. So, it's
A lot of water.
water. Yeah,
Do you hear like a voice? What is it? I've always wondered because I, you know,
so
hello?
hello, can you
Ah,
hear me?
yeah, now I.
Okay, yeah. So um, I could say it's a voice, but it's a non-physical voice. So it's more like a consciousness. So it's not like I'm hearing voices. I don't hear voices. It's not like a physical voice, not at all. It's more like a consciousness. It's just like a flow of thoughts that you can pick up. Sorry, it just like connected me to another Wi-Fi. Okay, we're back.
Okay. I was thinking the dark ones are trying to stop us.
No, it's this technology. It's going to be good now. So to answer your question, it's not like a voice that I'm hearing, but it's much more, it is like you could say, like I hear things, I feel things, I see things, but it evolved in a kind of like a continuous conversation when like my consciousness merges with their consciousness or high level of consciousness. Could be my guides, could be my higher self, my multidimensional self, the source, whatever. And it's just like very divine, and it's kind of like a merge of consciousness. So that's kind of how it works
And can you
for me.
call them
But
at will and answer questions at will?
yes, absolutely, I can. But like the way I do it, and I always like also explain that to my students. I would never like allow myself to get tested randomly, like people when they just like test other people. It's kind of like I always do this as a sacred work. So if somebody has a real issue, like a real problem, they'll come to me and I'll tune in and I'll get guidance. But it's not to prove my point or to prove that that what I do is real. And so whoever like needs that kind of a level of proof, I'm like, yeah, the wrong door. Keep walking. This is a sacred work. So it's kind of like I really respect this spiritual gifts, and I treat them accordingly. So it's not spirit never wants to prove anyone anything. They allow us to have free will. But if somebody comes from their heart space and really has an honest question or need, they will always answer.
Wonderful. Thank you. So now, can I ask you questions? what
Yeah.
what do your guides and I would say like guardians of humanity say about the current situation that we're in, about what is happening everywhere around the world?
Well, what they've shown me is that for many, many thousands of years, and I often speak about the recent history of the last 13,000 of years, and a lot of like teachers speak about this period since the fall of consciousness of Lemuria and then Atlantis. But the guides are saying that the pattern is even like longer than that. It's like a pattern that's been going on for a really long time, and a pattern that where this whole duality, extreme negativity has creeped into our reality. And for many thousands of years, we've been conditioned to believe that this is normal and this is how it is. Okay. And so fast forward to today's modern world, everyone has, well, everyone, to some extent, everyone has normalized the negativity. So we're very, very used to this negativity. And if there was no negativity in this world, we would find it very weird, right? And so what we're experiencing now is a major transition where there's a split of realities. Now, this sounds a little bit like science fiction, probably, but there is, reality is not as we see it as a linear one thing. We live in a multiverse, we live in a multidimensional reality, and there are many realities, and there are many levels of consciousness. And what we perceive to be real as physical, it's just one little aspect. And so what's happening is a split in reality. So we have reach the maximum point of extremes, and things need to change at the same time, because this is all synchronized. When you look at astrology and the cycles, we're just transitioning into the next era. And so whenever this transition happens, there is an opening, there is a door. Okay, there's a door. And for those who have learned the lessons of the past era, and in our case of many thousands of years, of many cycles, that can actually now transition to a different reality. Now, this, like, if you look at, the internet and look at all these like videos and articles on this topic, there's so much about the new world, the new reality. And my perspective might be a little bit different. The way I see it is as a split in reality, which basically means that, those who have reached the consciousness, this frequency of love and higher understanding, will automatically, be aligned with this new emerging reality, which is basically love, light, frequency, wisdom, creativity, connection. It's all the Aquarian things, right?
Mhm.
But there are still those who are very hooked onto the old ways of doing, the old paradigm, where there's lots of polarity, toxicity, negativity, sickness, and all of that.
Mhm.
And if we look at the world at the moment, we see that this has been really intensified in the last 2 years. Each year, we have a different propaganda. And I think we're going to be seeing a little bit of that in the years to come, because the old world doesn't want to give up.
Mhm.
The old energies are like, no, 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 we're not letting you go. And they're basically harvesting souls. And how do you harvest souls? Through fear. So we see a lot of fear mongering around the world, a lot of people, buying into the fears. And I think this split of realities, it does sound sci-fi, it does sound a little bit out there, but it really has to do with letting go of all our fears
Mhm.
and just returning into the heart, returning back to our true selves, our true divinity, and not searching for, the source of guidance outside of ourselves.
Mhm.
And even
Same
if we
here.
do, it should guide us back into our inner world, because we are each, we are divine beings, and it's really about realizing our own divinity.
Mhm.
So there will be a lot in this world. I think it's going to be the old systems we're going to try to persist. There's going to be some propaganda with fear, with rules, with restrictions. But I always see, very positive resolution in the end. I always see, um, it's a cliche, light winning, but, maybe that's just my reality. That maybe that's just where I'm going. And, but I do feel a very positive resolution in the end. But I do see quite a lot of struggle on the way. I
Mhm.
do want to emphasize one thing before we move on. Um, People that are experiencing tons of struggling at the moment, it really has to do, as within, so without. So if you guys are going through like massive challenges at the moment, it's really the opportunity to do tons of karmic cleansing of thousands of years of your soul. It's not just this lifetime. In this lifetime you might be, the nicest person, and you've always like been really aligned with your soul, but maybe in other lifetimes you weren't as aligned with your soul. And so this is now the opportunity to shed those layers of conditioning, because what we're seeing is just massive karmic cleansing on a global level.
Mhm.
And so some people are at the moment like have found themselves in the most horrible situations, and then
Mhm.
some people are just blossoming, thriving, have
Yeah.
like their dreams are coming true. They're like, wow, this is amazing. This is exactly what I wanted. Like, I didn't know it was possible. And then you have your neighbor, like barely making like ends meet, like barely surviving. And
Mhm.
it's just energy, really, where we're at as individuals on our soul journeys. So the more you're aligned with your light, with the soul, with the higher frequencies, the easier it will be for you to thrive in these upcoming times, despite what's happening on the global scale,
Yeah.
despite anything that's happening.
This is exactly how actually uh, teachers from before have explained it. A master, Rudolf Steiner, for example, he said when the age of Aquarius starts coming, humanity will start splitting in two. And it will be a big divide. It's not like one will go on another planet suddenly or kind of beam me up Scotty. They would live parallel
Yeah.
to each other, but they will live in two totally different worlds. So one will be
Yes.
thriving. And also another channeler like yourself, I don't know if you've heard of him, Sal Rakele. And I'm reading his books from 20 years ago, and he said that there'll be a massive, like the so-called dark forces that want to be in control, that have been for thousands of years. They would create a situation where they basically put a lot of control and even martial law on the world, a lot of limitations, and that will be the start of this process. And he said it's going to happen by 2020, the latest, and by 2030, you'd see that humanity has split in two. One,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that decide to rely on themselves and not on external governments or forces to be saved, they would create communities of light and love, basically. They would create thousands of little communities. Some would be 5 people, other would be 1,000 or 20,000 people that come together into towns, or and they start relying on themselves for food, for they would use high technologies to generate technologies that were not allowed till now. They have been created, but they were not allowed, and they'll use them to create unlimited energy. And others, the ones that choose to stay in the system, so to speak, the immune systems will start crumbling because they'll be eating all those foods that are genetically modified. They'll be living in fear. The reality will be horrendous. The reality will be of lack of, especially ones that live in big cities where you're totally dependent on the system. And those that separate, they'll create heaven on earth. And is it something that your guides have been telling you
Yeah.
about as a possibility?
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And I'm very connected to Rudolf Steiner. Funny enough, you mentioned him. I mean, obviously, we're so in sync. But yeah, yeah, absolutely. So what I've been shown is, and I shared that in my videos as well. So you probably heard that already. But I've been shown two different realities, and one reality is very much connected to technology. And when technology, goes the wrong way, and they try to use technology to manipulate our DNA, to change our psychology, and it's already happening. And this is the old dark Atlantean principle, okay? This is the old dark Atlantean principle. And so there will be those who will like really want to live in smart cities. They will want to go, towards the city living where everything's provided for them. And there will be those who will feel a strong calling of Gaia, of Earth,
Mhm.
and Mother Earth, and they will return to the earth. They will simplify their lives. They will, they will be like, I don't need this, I don't need this. It's just, they will stop this whole consumer culture, and they will just like return to the roots of humanity. And it's kind of like returning to the guidance of the elders, of the
Mhm.
really elders of the land, and hearing their echoes through time, and following their guidance to rebuild these natural communities. And
Wow.
so I do see these two groups of people, and eventually what I do see is that these two groups of people won't be able to coexist together anymore in physical reality eventually. I'm
Mhm.
not saying now. My guides did say that there's going to be a major stuff in our 20s, and then 30s it's a big breaking point. It's a in the end, what often people ask, like, what will happen? Well, depends on our collective consciousness. There
Mhm.
is no set reality, there is no set future. But they did say that 2050 it's going to be very big, like, year and time, and that all the work we're doing now, like yourself and many others, it really has to do to prepare humanity to 2050 and beyond. And they said that this whole new era will take maybe 150, 200 to 300 years to really manifest physically. So it will take some time for things to clarify. And I know a lot of us will be like, oh, we're just like, can't it just happen? Like, I just want to enjoy all this harmony and abundance. But we're here as the pioneers of the new era. So we might not be the ones enjoying the new era in a way that we imagine, but we'll be able to enjoy it in our lives because of our energy, because of our efforts and our soul tribe and our communities. So yeah, absolutely, I agree. Yeah.
I think we'll have the most fun work. Yes, the most difficult, but it's
Yeah.
being in the Wild West, being the pioneers who came to the States first, and whoever has an adventurous spirit, I think we would really
Yeah.
enjoy it, like creating this. And we'll come back again as the grandchildren of our children, probably, who knows?
Yes.
Enjoy then
Maybe.
everything fully ready. So
Maybe. Yeah.
you don't think that uh, they are you guys telling you that the dark forces will win this time or no?
No, no. That's the thing, you know, like the thing with the dark forces is like the way I see it, you know, I don't dramatize it, you know, I just make it really simple. Imagine like a really negative person. You know, you don't need to imagine this huge, big negative force. Just imagine a really toxic person, like a really annoying narcissistic person. So how do you deal with that person? Well, you as an empath, and light workers are empaths, right? You just need to figure out how to not give them the energy they want, because they can't survive on their own. They don't have their source of energy. So that's why they're bullying you. So what I see with the dark forces is just like constant bullying and trying to persuade beautiful, positive souls into being afraid and feeling as if they're not good enough, or, you know, all of these like feelings of self-doubt and um, lack of
Mhm.
sense of security. So it's just bullying. I mean, you know, they do have certain level of power. I'm not ignoring or denying that, okay? But, you know, when you don't give them power, they don't have power over you. So I don't fight against anything. I never do. Like, I don't fight against anyone else's energy. That's really important. I'm not here as a light worker to fight against darkness, not at all. I'm here to empower the light, empower the consciousness, empower the truth. And, you know, the light that I'm talking about, it's not the light that it's polar opposite to negativity. It's above polarity. It's consciousness. It's above positive and negative. It's, you know, when we're stuck in positive and negative, when we see things as positive and negative. So when a harsh situation happens, you say it's negative, but actually it's positive because you've learned so much from it. But above this level of experience is the level of consciousness of truth. And this is really where I see, you know, we should really be striving towards, to get like unhooked from this polarity matrix and to really just stop fighting against things and just have compassion. So I can be very compassionate to a narcissistic person, but that doesn't mean I will hang out with them. That doesn't mean I'll talk to them. It doesn't mean I'll open my door to them. I won't. I will completely cut them off from my life.
Mhm.
Like I don't deal with them. I don't give them energy. And, you know, people often then say, yeah, but like I have so many people like that in my life. Well, maybe you have this lesson. I've had this lesson. I kept attracting very narcissistic people until one day I realized, well, there's nothing much more to learn than just close my door and say no. And when I, you know, when I meet a new person, and the moment I start sensing this narcissistic negativity, I'm like, goodbye. That's it. Goodbye. I'm not going to explain it to you. Like, I'm not going to try to coach you. It's just goodbye. I'm not
So
going to
it
try to
was,
change it.
yeah. So you
Yeah, it's
give
goodbye.
advice to people as well. Don't get upset because I see people fighting on the internet,
Yeah, no.
the new world order and stuff. It's just don't pay them attention. They can do whatever they
Yes.
want. You go and create your own world, but you have to do it in a way that you don't expect them to give you money. You don't expect them. You don't depend on
Yes.
them at all. So
Yeah.
instead of getting all angry and
Yeah.
just go and create your own world, your own kingdom.
Yes. Yeah, it's like, you know, create your own system. You don't need to fight against anything, because like fighting against the system is telling the system they're wrong.
Mhm.
And, you know, they'll fight back because in their eyes they're not wrong. So let the system be and just move on and create your own system, create your own beautiful communities, you
Mhm.
know, create your own sovereignty. And, you know, the way I see it is, you don't need millions of people following and supporting you. The
Mhm.
way this works is you create your new reality, you create new communities, you create new schools, new kindergartens, whatever, new educational systems, new ways of like providing food for people. You just create that. And what will happen is a lot of people who are very stuck in the system at the moment will eventually realize that they're getting very sick, and they'll search for alternatives. And there you'll be with your project, with your service, and they'll be like, you know, I'd rather choose that. So I do see a lot of people. I mean, some people will be the victims, you know, they will be the victims of the system. But a lot of people I do see moving on away from the system on their own, willingly, simply because it's not going to work for them anymore. And
Mhm.
so, as light workers, we are at the frontiers, we are the visionaries. And that's why we are the first ones that need to create this new reality and maybe you won't have all that proof and recognition just yet, but
Mhm.
that's okay, because you're doing a service for all the future generations. So you're planting the seeds of consciousness and of new concepts.
Mm.
So you don't need a great recognition. You just need to do your service and enjoy your work and work from the heart, and you know everything else will follow. And it's really important for people to understand that when you really, really follow your heart, your soul, you will be provided. The forces of good are so much more powerful than the forces of darkness. Like darkness is like a very, the way I see it, it's like a very stubborn toddler. Like, when they have tantrums, not when they're like little angels, when they're little devils, that, right? You have kids, like I have a 5-year-old, very, very stubborn one. And so when they throw their tantrums and they're so stubborn, and the light is that really compassionate parent who says, okay, come on, it's okay. And if they're not listening, they just let them be, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
so the lightness, the light, the consciousness always win. There is no other way, because this is just a game. The polarity is just a game.
So we
And we're
shouldn't
here to
think we're
graduate.
smaller and and we can't do anything about it. And while we're suppressed, and it's those big bad ones, they've taken everything over. No, actually, you're the bigger one, and you're the one that they're throwing a tantrum against.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I always say, people, some people say, but I have no resources.
Mm.
I'm unemployed, for example. I said, okay, you have time. Go and volunteer. Go and volunteer. You have time. You always have something. As long as you're alive in this world and you can walk and you can breathe, just do something good. You can start with something very small, and then this snowball effect, it can then turn into something so much bigger than you ever imagined. So even if it looks like you don't have any resources, you don't have any opportunities, it feels like just that you can't do anything, just start helping, offer your time, and you will shift your energy. And the universe, when you offer your energy to support the greater good, the universe gives you back tenfold. And people get healthier, people get better, people get like so abundant all of a sudden, starting from not zero, but like below zero, okay? Just by offering what they've got.
Mhm.
And so this is, I think, what we need to figure out, that we don't need a lot, we don't need much to start serving communities. We just need our time and our willingness, and just start small. And I just did a video yesterday, and I was saying, this is the time for action now, people. So just start small and just get out there. Like, we have technology now. You can offer your advice for free. You don't need anything. Just help,
Yeah.
offer your light. And how then the universe takes care of your life and your needs is like beyond my understanding, but
Yeah.
it does in the most miraculous ways.
And you don't have to be a light worker to do that. I mean, starting those
No.
communities, if you have 10 light workers, they'll be starving because they'll be giving advice to each other. You need electricians, you need hairdressers, you need uh,
Yes,
farmers, you need people that are good with growing apples, another one who is good at growing herbs, another one who is good at doing things around the house. So you don't
exactly.
need to be some knowledgeable guru.
No.
Lifestyle, actually, I think the ones that are most handy and down to earth and practical, the so-called salt of the earth people, they would fare
Yes.
so much better. They would be that pillar in those communities. But some people say, how do I find the community? Because now everything through this age of Aquarius that is starting, and the first 20 years of Saturn Jupiter conjunction Aquarius, you can't do it alone. One bird doesn't do spring, there is a saying. And
Yeah.
but you right now everyone is isolated. You see how fascinating it is right at the start of this age. It's like
Yeah.
always I've seen that always the dark lodges, they want to do exactly the opposite of what the symbology of the normal evolution is. And Aquarius is come together, and they're like, isolate, distance each other. We have to be the new normal for many years. This thing will exist probably forever. And it's almost like they're trying to disperse the energy of this urge to connect people one another. And they actually, despite of doing that, it has had the opposite effect. Even though people are separated, I've been overwhelmed that everyone comes to me and says, in this time of separation, I found my soul tribe. I've never met them.
Yes.
We're writing on internet, on Facebook. I found an amazing group of people I've connected with. And it's for the first time in years, I'm excited about people like you that I saw online, some other people and I feel like when I saw you, I immediately felt, I know this girl. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's crazy. And a few other light workers or teachers. So some of them are even not doing anything like them, like us. Some of them are doing like fashion, others are doing cooking shows and stuff. And I'm like, these people are my tribe. And people are connecting right now, despite
Yeah.
of the distancing. And it's, you don't think you're alone, because and then you reach out. Maybe it's not going to be today, maybe it will be in 5 years. You'll reach out with those people that during this time you have found and you're finding, and you're going to start doing something together, because the success of this age is through combining our forces together. And I would really like to invite you another time if people have specific questions to ask you, maybe what careers, what your guides can tell us, what will be careers. Of course, everyone should follow their own heart, what they're good at, but
Yeah.
what kind of careers will be prevalent for thriving in the new times, for example. And maybe to give us some, maybe if I can ask you now, in this scary times, they're still very scary, how can people align to this higher vibration? Maybe a few practical things to do.
You know, I feel that there are so many frequencies in the air, like we're bombarded with electromagnetic frequencies, like all this interference that creates disharmony between the earth and the stars and this natural harmony. So people's mind, like their thoughts are being a little bit manipulated. I have to say that. So it's very important on a most practical level, of course, eat clean. Okay, drink clean water. I mean, it can be easier than that, and clearer than that. But also nature. Nature is always the great purifier. You can always like meditate and do all of these things, which I do, and I work with my Lemurian energy. And whenever I feel overwhelmed, I go into meditation and ask them to heal me and clear me and help me. But the greatest healer on this reality is definitely nature. So at the moment, like I live by the ocean, and that's extremely healing for me. So some people are really aligned with the mountains, some with lakes, rivers, forests, whatever it is. Like I would say, maybe start thinking of moving closer to nature, because that's going to be the great purifier. That's going to keep you healthy and balanced and grounded. And if you can't do that, then make sure that, like, when you have your free time, just go into the nature as pristine as possible. Go out walking in the hills, like in the mountains, swim in the lake, go into the ocean, like whatever it is. That's just the natural elements, I would say, to make it really simple.
And it does not take much, it's not like something very hard. Like, I am so bad with meditation. Like, if someone tells me to meditate again, I'm like, get out. I can't, I don't want. I'm on Aries, I can't sit still. But this I can do. Go in nature, sit on the
Yeah,
grass, walk by the beach. This is the simplest, and it doesn't take an effort. So thank you
yeah.
so much. And
You're
if
so
anyone
welcome.
would like to have specific questions to Teja, maybe she'll come back again if you're free in a few weeks, and we can do
Absolutely.
those questions. And can you answer them on the spot, or would you like to have those
Yes.
questions? Wonderful.
No, that's fine. Yeah, we can just answer them on the spot. That's fine. That's usually the easiest.
Wonderful. And if anyone wants to connect with you, where can they find you? And you also do personal
Um,
readings, don't you?
yeah, I do. I do personal work, one-on-one work. I'm about to launch my academy, but that's been in the making because I've been so busy with my trainings. So they can reach me on soulcalling.com. The website will be launched in March, but I've already put a little bit of information out there. Or they can like reach me through Facebook or MeWe, just Teja Wood or Soul Calling.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Thea. Looking forward to have you again to hear more of the wisdom of your guides as well, your own, and to go into some topics that people are interested in specifically. And please leave your questions below. We'll be looking at them next time when we do another interview, and Teja will be answering them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lada, and thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.